Hello, I'm Shield War 100 and welcome back to my games room. We're going to be playing a little bit more of, well, you can see, Onus Traianus. Onus, the Traianus edition for today. And yeah, I'm going to be dusting off the solo rules once again for a straightforward pitched battle. I fancy doing something just a little bit traditional wargamey, kind of interesting for me. Just do some Romans versus some barbarian hordes type thing in a fictional scenario based on points. Going, sort of like a good old wargaming simple bash you'd set up on a club night kind of thing. And so yeah, I've created my army, and I'm taking Trajan himself, or Traianus as you might want to have a go at him with. He's leading a total of 2,000 point army, so he's on around about 1,500 and something or other, basically. So yeah, it's got you got your infantry in the middle, some shock cavalry on the side, and a whole bunch of missile armed cavalry and troops in general on the left flank here. Well, I'll come to my battle plan in a moment, but let's have a look at what the I'm going against the Celts from the pack. I'm just going to go around their side of the board, show you what they got. Yeah, so it's a fairly large army. And yeah, I've set it up and built the army according to the rules for solo scenario, solo gaming. So, and it's actually worked out pretty well, as you'll probably see. So we've got a big mass of enemies in the middle, starting with slingers at the front, and then their heavier infantry behind, and some lights at the back, etc. Pardon the light reflection; it's a bit of a shiny surface I'm on. They've got two flanks with Briton riders for the most part, and again some light infantry backing them up. As it turned out, the cards were drawn, and it's a really good job of sort of deploying an army. But yeah, it's just generic hordes of scary barbarians. There's even some chariots there, as you can see, and yeah, they're good. Generals in the middle. So my battle plan, I shall be just having a nice ordinary sort of one, but I've got a bit of a twist on my usual. So like I said, shock cavalry on this side to hopefully push away the enemy here. The infantry are tough. Now Romans in this, I think the good idea is to get up to javelin range and just keep showering the enemy with javelins until they are worn down and charge you at a disadvantage. That's generally it. Yeah, your stats don't tend to be actually much better than barbarians otherwise. But on the left flank, I've got my archers, my Caro ballista, and my Equites Sagittarii, horse archer types. They're going to hopefully just shoot the knackers out of the enemy flank here, and then be able to turn inwardly, basically. So yeah, that's the plan here. We're going to sort of refuse this flank a little bit, shoot up the enemy as a bit of a priority, and yeah, dash them against all the arrows, etc. Anyway, that's the plan. Meanwhile, my infantry are tough and should be able to do some bumping and grinding in the middle. There you go. That's what I'm going with. I've got a good general. Let's hope this does the trick. I'm going to get on with the first turn's activations. I'll be back in just a moment. Microphone issues, unfortunately, so it's editing Lee talking for the first activation of the game. The AI player, the Celts, managed to get lucky and get all units move card out of the hat. So yeah, they've swept forwards, most notably, across the board, but most notably their cavalry, because they're skirmishers, moved forward and started throwing javelins. Because they're skirmishers, they can move their full distance and do so. And yeah, it was a bit of a light shower, not an awful lot of damage done, to be perfectly honest. But those guys are quite fast, and as you can see, there they are on both flanks. My horse archers took a couple of casualties and got broken, but that was the worst of it. So yeah, that was yeah, fairly good start to the game, the enemy getting to go all the way through, but I was able to activate all of my cavalry in response. The Caro ballista, as you can see there, did a couple of points of damage, not an awful lot else. Bit disappointing. On the other flank, an awful lot more happened. Moving up, some more javelins, but unfortunately a dash storm stopped the Equites from doing any shooting at all. Meanwhile, the Contarii, you can see there, charged home into combat with those Briton riders across them, becoming heroes, and well, having a hero nominated amongst amongst them and smacking around their Briton counterparts there. It's pretty good. Some damage, and yeah, a good start, not taking any damage themselves. The other unit of Equites moving up the flank. So yeah, the game's developing quite interestingly. You can see a unit of Briton chariots starting to develop there, just to perhaps move into the centre to start harassing me there, or maybe they'll stay on the flank, depends what the AI draws. And yeah, game is overall shaping up pretty well. We'll see what the next turn brings. The battle is truly starting to develop interestingly now. Right, the Celts went again, only got to activate 2 units, and they chose the 2 Briton riders who decided to open fire, well, volley their javelins at me, causing a pitter-patter of more damage to my my leading cavalry units, well, the Caraballista as well, but then decided to skirmish back away. I figured that was the most, the best interpretation of what they do from the AI guidelines, and yes, for my part, I pursued them on and to keep them continuing to open fire, developing my flank here, as you can see, moving up the shooters, and not really doing an awful lot with them, but they're they're doing their thing. They are holding the flank quite nicely. On the other flank, though, everything went a bit crazy. Actually, generally in my favour as well, which is quite surprising. The Contarii, first of all, in the enemy's turn, routed the Briton riders facing them, doing a huge amount of damage, becoming veteran into the deal. Thank you, random draw. And then they charged on into the Celtic javelinmen behind, and thanks to their lunge ability against infantry, they've caused a bunch of damage. The javelinmen have stood. They'd passed their break test. The Celts were broken before the combat even started because the riders ran through them in panic. But yeah, didn't cause them to run away, so I'll have to chew through them next turn. The Contarii continue to be blessed in not taking damage. It's good that they get to strike first against infantry, and they have the hero counter, which makes them a bit tougher. So yeah, they're actually doing a pretty damn good job today. And yeah, the Equites on the flank actually managed to line up a side charge into the Celtic chariots, who unfortunately, due to some misplaced traps in the field, spoilt my charge somewhat. So even though I was able to lap round to their back, both units got broken by an annoying event card as well. So it wasn't the greatest charge in the world. Thankfully, we didn't run away afterwards. That would have just been the purple pin. The javelin wars continue here, and I've actually managed to do some officer casualties upon the Briton riders, which will knacker them up good and proper, hopefully. So yeah, it might actually be time for a charge into them as well, but we'll see. There's this big massive Celtic infantry in the middle, and one thing I know from Onus is not to get too carried away with your cavalry, because they are fairly brittle, and they're a hefty bunch of points to lose. You can find the game almost over before your infantry actually engages if you're not lucky. So yeah, I'll be trying to make sure I'm not trying to do too much with too little of my army. Okay, it's Editing Lee here. Unfortunately, due to a problem with my microphone, this particular take was kind of spoilt with regard to the quality. But as you can see, I've been progressing with the game, and the Celtic general was actually able to organise only really his the units surrounding his actual general, so all that heavy infantry and the slingers have activated. On the left flank, there was a more sporadic missile fire developing between the two sides, and since I had a superiority in missile fire, I'm a bit disappointed in that. But on the other flank, you can see it's all gone much better for me as I've started to smash my way through the enemies, especially this unit of Contarii over here really smacked up their opposition and sent them packing and destroyed, becoming heroes and now veterans as well, so that's pretty good. The other unit of Equites just finished off the enemy chariots for some minor damage to themselves, and yeah, the cards forced them to go broken before the combat started. But yeah, there go the chariots fleeing through 2 units of enemy infantry who have become broken themselves. So yeah, overall pretty satisfied with the way the game is progressing on this flank. Yeah. Meanwhile, better not forget those unit of Briton riders over here, who, despite missing an officer, are still a bit of a threat. Mustn't forget enemy units. That's kind of a faux pas in wargaming. Progressing along, the enemy developed their slingers, who opened fire upon my heavy infantry, causing 1 point of damage on the Praetorian Guard, but nothing much else. Roman infantry being tough cookies overall. So yeah, long-range desultory shots not really going to be doing an awful lot. And there's another unit of Celtic swordsmen at the back here. Scary thing, can't forget them. A unit of heavy infantry. Again, not something you need. I can just wave off. So gonna have to factor them into my ongoing plans, to be perfectly honest. Overall, I'm quite pleased with how the game is progressing, though, as I start to envelop the enemy army. Yeah, it's all going quite well on the flanks. We'll see how the game develops when the infantry lines clash. But yeah, the envelopment, which I was going for with my original game plan, is starting to pay off. Yep, the combat continues. Both sides advancing towards each other now. The infantry units have started to rumble, shall we say. The shooting backwards and forwards is going on over here. Now the weight of fire on my side is starting to tell, as you can see those Briton riders are both carrying 3 hits apiece and are broken. They have managed to annoyingly break my Caraballista as well, but that's what you got to do. So we're nearly getting through to their second line of squishy people, but overall being able to smash up and hold off this entire flank with missile fire did seem to work out pretty well. The shooting, basically I'm advancing into a hail of slingshot. My own archers are doing absolutely nothing at all, because I can't roll I can't draw a card that enables them to even roll a die. They keep having things go wrong for them, which cancels their attack. Very annoying. The Praetorian Guard are edging out in front, as is their wont. They really want to get in touch with those slingers and give them something to think about. I had to pull the Equites back, who had just pushed away the chariots, because they just will not rally that broken marker off, and I don't want to send them into combat with it. So they just pulled back all the way here. They're very manoeuvrable, and they're about to give these Briton riders a bit of what for, who have now taken an extra point of damage. They've done some damage themselves to my Equites, so yeah, javelining is going on, some hardcore skirmishing, but ultimately, yeah, I'm just trying to hold them off so my infantry can eventually do their thing. But yes, the Celt chariots, for their part, actually rallied from fleeing away, so they'll be in a position to start annoying me again, albeit they are very damaged. The star part of the turn actually happened at the very end, when my Contrarii charged the Celtic swordsmen. As you can see, massacred them in 2 rounds of combat by playing no quarter there, giving them 2 rounds of combat, and they were lucky. Again, the fact they have lunge, meaning they get to strike first in when they charge against infantry, is so powerful. When you can if you can do that magical 3 points of damage, take their their offensive capability away just a little bit, and then hit them again. They first of all went broken, and then they died, basically. I've finished them off. So that's another unit off the board for the Celts, and they're starting to really feel the punishment, but there's still a lot of them to go. The battle tightens in now. The Celtic slingers have fallen back behind the front line of their heavy infantry here, so we've got Gizatai and Celtic swordsmen all along the front here. I managed to charge in with my Praetorian Guard. They have that little icon there on the far end with a little running man, gives them an extra point of movement when they charge, so in they went. So things starting to come to a head. The Contrarii managed to destroy the Celtic chariots, who arrived to shore up the flank. They were very damaged, don't forget though. So yeah, and yet again, these guys are just having a whale of a time today with their veteran counter and their hero token. They just doing the business. They haven't taken a hit yet. They're just happy to be slaughtering Celts. It's their thing. It wasn't all great for me. My Equites charged into the flank of the Briton riders here. Despite doing a couple of points of damage, they routed. Good for me, right? So yeah, they've run off into the card pile. So chances are they won't be rallying, but who knows? Maybe I'll get lucky and roll a 1 or something. But yeah, that's that. And yeah, so nicely, delicately poised. The two battle lines all sort of closing in on each other now, and we're going to get some proper bumping and grinding soon, I expect. Oh, we're getting crunchy now. Yes, it's the fighting's really joined, and I am coming off the worst for it on this particular part here. The Praetorian Guard had a stalemate, no damage fight against the Celtic swordsmen, but because they became broken thanks to some annoying War Dogs card that the Celtic swordsman managed to draw, and yes, that's really hobbled my attempts to do damage to them and try and turn this combat. So the Praetorian Guard are being held up, are being, well, statistically outfought. It's lucky they didn't, lose the combat just a minute ago to Celtic swordsmen who have, well, barely, just about half their points, which is scary stuff. However, the rest of the board's not too bad. I've moved the Roman heavy infantry, still in their shield wall formation, up into javelin range, and they are busy throwing down upon the enemy there with some support from the archers, who've finally woken up and realised there's a battle going on. So yeah, there's hits blossoming with the help of some useful cards on my part. I am starting to run out a little bit though, so yeah. Over here, the Celts didn't get to move an awful lot, but they did start move. They're starting their skirmishing, tactics there. So their riders actually fell back behind their infantry in the face of being broken and having damage done. They were starting to lose the fight, so I figured they'd take the sensible route to withdraw. The Pictish warriors behind have now started coming under fire from the Carobalistae themselves and taking damage, but they're not that badly damaged. They're a bit fresher than the Briton riders behind, so that's good. Meanwhile, this unit of Briton riders is doing okay. It's holding off the Romans, so it's a bit of a nothing skirmish on this side, which is kind of what I wanted, allowing me to concentrate on the main events over here. Hopefully the Praetorian Guard will be able to hold their ground, even if they don't actively munch through units, but it will give them time. Again, the Briton riders over here withdrew to try and catch the Contario, who have now enveloped and lapped around and crunched into some armed peasants at the back of the Celtic line. So yeah, they're having a ball, continuing on with their pack-manning along the enemy lines. Okay, so yeah, it's interesting. We're about to get to, I expect, some actual heavy infantry fighting, and that should be where the game's probably getting decided. But I'm going to try and exercise my flank superiority as well. Okay, I think we're going to call it after those last two activations. The Celts and the Romans smashed into each other. Showers of pillar and cry and Celtic battle cries rang out. But this unit of Contari are absolutely the most valuable player awards of everything. With a combination of being able to charge through destroyed peasants and then getting a double round of combat against the slingers behind them, they were able to charge into the back of the Celtic general just as my own general's unit went into their front and caused a massive amount of damage to them. They're gone. Along the line, the Praetorian Guard again fought an ongoing stalemate against these Celtic swordsmen, and these legionnaires one damage apiece against their counterparts. So battle lines grinding there. But the Evocati here, just with their deadly roll, they massacred the Ghisati with an amazingly good roll. 8 points of damage in one go, and 6 points of damage in one go, and just murdered them off the board. Okay, yeah, that's so big gaps in the Celtic battle line now. The loss of their general, they haven't quite gone over the 50% of their force value that I would strictly speaking be victory conditions. I haven't actually lost a card yet. I was actually luckily able to rally these Equites over here before they went off the board. But yeah, the writing's pretty much on the wall now. I think it's just a case of just doing a little bit more damage here and there, and we will get there. So it's pretty much the battles of tales are told. I mean, where the Romans just line up and envelop and massacre the barbarian hordes. I was quite surprised. It gets a bit dicey. This is my command hand now. One card left. at this point. It's not even a particularly amazing one either. So yeah, I was starting to run a little bit on empty now, but thankfully the way Trajan works is that he gets you an extra card at the end of every turn anyway, so you've always got, you generally got something in the tank. And yeah, what a game. This game's great, and it's not a guarantee that every single combat you are really scared that you're going to draw something for the AI that's going to wreck your plans, and it does happen. I've seen it. I've played a few solo games now, and the potential for things to go really wrong really does even out the fact that you've got that bit more control over what you move and when. There were some times when the Celts really could have done with a big general advance sort of card, and they got to move their slingers and nothing else. So it can, it tends to even out, and it does keep you guessing, which is really good for a solo game, as to whether or not the enemy's going to have a really good turn or be quite limited, and that's pretty good. But yeah, never have I, in this game in particular, I've never seen a singular unit, especially of cavalry, munch through quite so much. It was they did a whole loop of the game. They went up, started here, killed some cavalry, went up, destroyed some spearmen, javelinmen, sorry, finished off some chariots, went in the back into the armed peasants, then threw some slingers, and then finally into the back of the Celt swordsmen at the front of the Celtic line, and that was it. Massive damage. Yeah, definitely these guys are the ones who are going to get a good write-up in dispatches, I tell you. This game's great. I love Onus. It's really fun. It's very simple to play. It's very portable. You can take, and everyone I've played against, everyone I've actually played, no matter what they think about a game involving cards, everyone I've played likes it a lot, and that's pretty good. Even like hardcore wargamers really like this game. Everyone who's tried it just wants to play it again. So yeah. In fact, everyone who's played it asks me how much is it and where can they get it. So there you go. Anyway, I'm Shield War 100. I hope you enjoyed this this battle, the spectacle such as it is. I really enjoy Onus. I'll probably come back to it. Almost certainly will come back to it. There's lots of different combinations to try. Armies based around cavalry, etc, etc. And yeah, this is my games room. There'll be plenty more to come in the future. I'll see you next time.